Today is March 9th, 2021, and we are prepared to open up the meeting, general meeting of the Mayor and Town Council of Colmar Manor at 7:04. Is there a motion for us to get started?
Republicans say too much.
Councilmember will make that motion.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any objections? Okay, this meeting is now in order. Good evening, everybody. I'm so glad to see you today. We will start out this meeting with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I hope you have a flag nearby. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
under God,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you for that. And now if we could take and have a moment of silence for the shut-in, the so many lives that we have lost to COVID-19, and to all of the people and the families impacted by those losses. And just to take a moment and think about those who have less. And let's take a moment of silence and offer that. Thank you for that. If we can now take a moment and actually rejoice in all the good things that we have in our lives, all of the wonderful people that we have amongst us, our friends and family, those who care about us, the fact that we can get up and breathe every day, and to be thankful for those who have survived COVID-19. And let's just do some appreciation in this moment. Please, a moment. Okay, thank you all so much for doing that. I appreciate it very much. And now we can move on to our business. The first item on the agenda is to report out on the work session. So I will report out discussions from the work session, which included sump pump ordinance, which we went through carefully in conversation. We'll have a little bit more about that today as we move forward, but it's about sump pumps, downspouts, and other drainage within the right-of-ways of the community in order to ensure safety in the community. We talked about our business license ordinance in the context of how to improve it, make it more fitting to what we want in our environment from our business community and what we would like for them to do in order to have a business license from us. We will be further discussing that in the future. We talked about a trash campaign in general. For anybody who is listening, we are moving forward. Trash it is a problem in any community. It is a safety problem. It's a security problem. It's an issue about what people think about you thinking about your community. So anybody out there who is aware of anybody who is violating trash circumstances in our community, please let us know, help us to confront the issue. We will be putting out flyers, we will be doing mailings, and we will be putting out signage to encourage people to think about what they're doing when they're putting trash in the community. Also, a number one thing that we discussed was the fact that a lot of people's trash lids are not closed solid. And when we have windy days, that trash flies all over the place. And so we do have an ordinance that you should have, your lid should be closed on your trash can completely. So we want to ensure that you're doing that. We will be stepping up code enforcement to be looking out for that on trash days so that this problem can be avoided. This is a very easy avoidable problem. If you do need an additional trash can and you have a large family, please let your council person know that you have a family of 5 or more and you need an additional trash can. We've just recently put out an order for some new trash cans. Your council person would then share that with Public Works, being the case, and get you another trash can. But if you don't have a large family, there's nothing to say you can't go buy a trash can. So just get it, the trash can that you need that allows you to close it. And we will be stepping up enforcement on that. A very big issue for us. We talked about updates on the pavers. The pavers, which are going in, you should notice some construction happening at 40th and Newark Road. Working on either on the sign, I don't know, sign or the pavers, but both of those activities are happening. We are getting an electronic sign. Both of these circumstances should be concluded by the end of the month. I will add for public consumption that we did approve, and Mr. Bain, correct me if I'm wrong, but we approved an additional $10,000 transfer of funds in order to accommodate additional costs as it related to the sign, and agreed to make a purchase. Agreed to the contract that was necessary in order to complete the signage in and around about the same amount of money. Elaborate on that, Mr. Baden, when you do your treasurer's report, so that that's clearly on the public record in the general meeting, since it was a funding activity. We also did the same, that was related to the electric sign. That vote was 401 with 1 abstention. We talked about parking, and we want to put an emphasis on the courtesy of parking, reminding everybody that you do not have a right to a parking space directly in front of your house to the point that you can put a trash can or a cone in that space. These spaces are open to all the residents of the community, and so therefore, that is not allowable. In fact, the trash can is actually outside of our ordinance for a trash can to be out in any day other than what is the morning or the evening before the trash day. And so we want to follow up on that. We had a discussion about Juneteenth as a holiday. We'll have some additional conversation about that, so you'll hear more. We talked about putting out some community surveys. We will be trying to do some monthly surveys on different issues. If there's any issues that anybody feels of interest that we might get informed by putting out, please feel free to email me of those items that you think should happen. We talked about the status of opening up the building. We'll have a little bit more conversation about that this evening in this agenda. So I'll just state that at this point. This month is Women's Month, and actually yesterday was Women's Day, as far as I understand it. But we're trying to put on a program about women, and we had a rec council meeting on Monday, last Monday, to discuss, how we want to move forward, and got some additional ideas from the council after that. So we will be putting up a women's flag. We're looking for the Women's Month flag. We're looking for one right now to see if we can get one up and hang it before the end of the month. And we also, at that time, talking about that flag, we also talked about getting other flags like a Pride flag during the period of time when we want to celebrate Pride Month. And then we talked about signers on our checks, who signs the checks. And we will have some additional conversation about that at this meeting. So I'll just leave that at that. And that is the report on our work session. Is there any differing thoughts from the council of anything that I didn't mention that you think is relevant from the work session?
No more.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to move on to our ward reports. So I'll go with Ward 1. You have a report?
Yes, good evening, our great mayor. So starting, I want to reiterate the dog and leashes. In Ward 1, it's become a very, very big problem. Um, I hope that at least someone watches this recording to understand that there's a lot of children that play in this area outside right now. The weather's getting warmer, and we really need to have the animals, any pets, on some type of leash or some type of boundaries because coming home today, actually, I almost hit a dog that was roaming in the street. And it's as simple as someone just having their dog in the yard or on a leash, or at least accompanying their animal. Second thing is we were not invited. Like someone lent out a hand to say that they would like to give us yoga instructions via Zoom if we were open to taking them up. Um, it's a person on Facebook. I'll definitely put it inside of our emails if we're interested inside of, providing that to our community. And another thing that a resident actually brought up to me is that they would like to cultivate their own community cleanup. And if it's something that we would support, they would love to see who would love to get involved so that we'd have a consistent cleanup amongst the residents. And lastly, um, the Anacostia Watershed Society would like to come and talk to us or to our town as well whenever we have the opportunity to speak to us about the Nefway project. It's something I tried to explain to you guys before, but I didn't really talk about it too well. So they would love to come and explain it to us. But basically, it's a program that allows, well, it's from the University of Maryland, and they come and choose resident or a location inside of the town, and they plant trees for free. So something that, I think would be interesting for the people. And that is my report.
All right, well, thank you for that. We always do like tree planting. I don't know if it's still happening right now, but we have a dance teacher who uses our town hall to do her instructions for, I think I want to say American University, but she offered in exchange to doing the instruction to do a yoga. I think it's a yoga class, um, or it might have been I think it was a yoga class, but we didn't get a whole lot of traction on that when we first put it out there. But if there's a person interested, she was quite willing to be a part of it. Now I don't know if they're going to wind up going back to in class teaching again, but I know she's still here right now doing her dance classes on Monday and Wednesdays, I think it is. So contact Kayla, would you?
Yeah, definitely.
And who that person is, and then maybe we can get another flyer back out there again and get some traction on that because she was definitely willing to help us out. Well, thank you for that. And also, when you talk to Kayla, see if you can organize when AWS might want to come in.
Sounds great.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Now we have Ward 2. She has contacted us a possibility that she was not going to be able to join us this evening. And I don't see her, but still, as she did send a report. Is there any council member who got it and want to read it? Otherwise, I will. Okay, I'll go ahead and read it.
And Mayor, she sent an email again, and she said something about it being hard to get online. So to just go ahead with her ward report.
Okay, I sure will. And this is from Councilmember Hobbs, Ward 2. She says February 12th with two constituents. Both complained about their neighbors engaging in street parking warfare. The neighbors reserved the parking space either by putting a cone out or leaving a trash can. Other neighbors is spying to see when the constituent leaves to move their car into the space. According to the constituent, there is space to park in the driveway. The driveway was expanded past summer. Additionally, cars are left parked on the street without being moved for more than 72 hours. The constituents tried to talk to the neighbors amicably. However, the neighbor responded they park wherever they want to. The constituent claims they found big nails under tires and felt threatened on other occasions. Other constituents' car was blocked in from each side by other cars on a separate occasion. Recommendations. I would like to remind residents, street parking is for all the residents unless there are specified guest parking spaces and is on the first come, first served basis. Parking cannot be reserved by a trash can, cone, or other item. Such items will be collected by police and violators will be ticketed. Trash cans after the trash day should be brought onto the property. Practice good neighbor policy. Know and talk to your neighbor. Another issue was brought up to my attention by the constituents. Grocery bags given by Compare Foods are piling up. People are reusing them, but still there are too many. Shoppers used to accept and recycle their bags. Recommendation, talk to the business about instituting a recycling program. Colmar Manor is a sustainable community and we'd like our businesses to exercise green practices also. Install plastic bag receptacles in town. And that is her report. So I want to say thank you so much, Councilmember Hobbs. And with that stated, in case she's not able to join us, is there a motion to excuse Councilmember Hobbs?
I'll make that motion.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I move that we excuse Councilmember Hobbs for this evening's meeting.
Okay,
And I'll second that.
got it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so Councilmember Hobbs is excused from the meeting. But maybe she'll be able to join us, which would be nice. Moving forward, Ward 3.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council, and all of our wonderful employees and staff and servants of our town, and to all of the citizens who have signed on. Good evening. Happy almost spring, everybody. The mayor mentioned that yesterday was International Women's Day, and this entire month is Women's History Month. The quotation that's being used on much of the documentation to celebrate this was one made by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, recently passed, our Supreme Court Justice. She said, "Women belong in all places where decisions are being made." So I think we can be very proud that we have a mayor who is a woman. We have a council member who is a woman. Our previous council was all women, and they are strong, capable, amazing women who are leading. And I think that's wonderful. And if you look throughout the county, you'll see that as well. Women are well represented in Prince George's County, and what would be, we would literally not be here without women. So, so thank you. If you are a woman, thank you for being a woman. Just wanted to go down a few things. Vaccines, March 5th was COVID Remembrance Day. And I know a lot of us took time. I lost my own brother. I know some of you that are signing on have had the virus. Some of you have lost people. So I extend my condolences. As a community, a local community and a national community, we've been through the equivalent of a war in under a year, where we've lost over 500,000 of our fellow citizens. And so I just extend my condolences and comfort to anyone who is still dealing with processing that loss. And but there is hope ahead as we see vaccines are becoming available. If you want to keep up in Maryland with where to find vaccines, you can go to the website coronavirus.maryland.gov/pages/vaccine. That's coronavirus.maryland.gov/pages/vaccine. And we were informed yesterday by Mr. Lusk, who owns our community or our shopping center, that our own CVS will be having vaccinations there. They are being administered by the staff. They have an added staff, so it's an added duty to them, and they do have a limited number right now, so you may not be able to get in quickly, but they are starting to appear in our local community. So I encourage you. I've had both of mine. The worst experience I had was a sore arm. So I'm sure that other people may have others, but the more of us that are vaccinated, the more protected, the weaker among us are. Just a few things that have happened around town. I met with our garden club. Speaking of women, it was an all-women's group except for me. powerful, strong, informed, amazing, involved women who, some of whom are former council and have been continuous and consistent servants of our community. It was a great morning. I'm hoping someone may have signed on to give a report from that. Another powerful, important woman, Miss Blue, who is serving as our not council, but as our liaison, our citizen liaison to the Neighborhood Watch program. I met with her and the chief and the police department. She is, though no longer on the council, she is still serving the town and still very much involved. And those meetings will be the fourth Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. So our next meeting will be March 25th. You'll see this repeated in the police chief's report today. The Zoom link will be sent out. It will be a Zoom meeting. And the topic of that meeting will be theft from vehicles, because apparently we are having quite a bit of trouble with that. Please don't leave anything of value visible in your car when you park it. You know, we'd like to think we can trust folks, but you know, some folks are suffering and they see an opportunity and they can't resist. Warmer weather is coming. Watch your music volume. We all love music, but remember that we live on top of each other. So talk to your neighbors. If you're going to have a party, warn them, invite them. Maybe they'll want to hear the music, but be thoughtful, particularly if it's late at night and people are trying to sleep, in your vehicles and in your homes. Trash is looking better. Thank you, Ward 3, for stepping up. I volunteer officially, Councilmember Harding, to join you and anybody that wants to go around town cleaning up. Remember, we have a small public works force, and they have to cover our entire city plus our town center. So please don't give them more work than they need, and take responsibility to clean the front of your property up. It really is our responsibility. And our yards are starting to look beautiful. I'm almost there, Mayor, I promise. I encourage you, one of the things the mayor and I've talked about and that we've all pointed out is that we have such proximity to natural beauty. There are very few towns that are truly walkable. Colmar Manor really is. It's a short walk to the levee and to the marshland across the river. The natural beauty here is amazing. The other day, in a short walk, I encountered hawk, duck, geese, many smaller bird varieties. A lot of the animals are becoming much more active, and the humans are becoming much more active. So if you're out with your dog, do make sure your dog is leashed. A good friend of mine who's a dog trainer said, you know what, we want to believe our dog would never bite someone. We want to believe that. And we want to believe that when we ride our bike or we walk without our dog on lead, we've got control. But even the kindest, sweetest dog, if the dog becomes afraid, it can attack. So just be mindful of that. Keep your dog on lead. We all love our dogs. God knows I do mine. Spring means renewal, and Colmar Manor is starting to bloom. So let's get out. Join me on a ward walk. Anybody that wants to come at least once to twice a day I'm out, stop me, talk to me. I'd love to commune with you. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to days like today to be more days, and I'm going to come and have a walk with you then. Okay? Okay. All right, thank you for that. All right, Ward 4.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad that Councilmember Bowles brought up about our own CVS having the vaccine available. I did go in there today and I talked to Keith, who's worked at CVS for a very long time, and I went to the pharmacy and got more information about it. So yes, they do have the vaccine, because I'm still trying to get a vaccine for my parents, and it's been just a whole process all on its own. And so you go onto the CVS website and they do have coronavirus. You click on that link and then they have options for you. So apparently the options are there, but you just have to keep checking, because there are appointments, but they get picked up pretty fast. So if you're looking to get the vaccine and you qualify right now in the phase for it, definitely go on there and try to see if you can get in. Another thing is our I'm so used to coming into Colmar Manor and going on to Newark and 40th. And so there it is, road closed. And residents, it's going to be like that for a month. That's what I'm told, until everything gets done. I'm pretty sure the work is going to be wonderful. But yeah, that that way I'm always going in there and it's like, road closed. So with the weather getting warmer, yeah, I see it. Everybody's out and about. Dogs are unfortunately unleashed and running around. And so definitely residents take care of that and make sure that your pet is leashed and pick up the poop. All right, and that's all I can say for now. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. I guess I will piggyback on my report, starting straight off with CBS in the vaccinations. They have a lower supply right now, and they're only doing about 215 shots. They don't really have the capacity. I did go in earlier, no, was it last week or this week? I don't know. Anyway, it was this week because I just found out, right? So I went in yesterday. I spoke to the head pharmacist and asked about how we can partner in helping them with what they need to do. She said that they were having a meeting today to talk about distribution and how it could be improved. And so she said that a location would be helpful. And I told her clearly we are in a position to offer that kind of help if that's what, if we can help in that way and using our facility in order to have people come and get vaccinated. So if that can help with capacity, that will make a big difference. So she said, I gave her my card, she's got our information, and so she'll let us know if they can be able to, because then they might be able to ramp up. But in addition to that, we had the mayors, Prince George's Mayors Association. We had a meeting with the county executive this month. And of course, a lot of the conversation I would just mention was about several things. I don't know if everybody knows about some of the challenges with the school board, but many of the mayors sent a letter about that to the county executive, about that being just unconscionable at this point. Needing to have a school board that works together is super important, was one of our topics. I submitted a letter of my own in relationship to it. I did not tag on to the one that was sent by the body, but the other conversations were around vaccines. Now, I wind up in the vaccine black hole because I was trying to get a date like on Wednesday and Thursday when they sent out the dates, and it kept coming up, no appointments, no appointments, no appointments. I'm not old enough to be in a class other than, so I couldn't find an appointment anywhere. So finally I got in contact with somebody who was able to find me an appointment. I have an appointment for my first shot tomorrow. But we were able to talk about that because I wasn't the only one in this black hole trying to get shots. What it turns out is that the amount of shots that Prince George's County was getting was actually gone by Tuesday. They started on a Monday, it's gone by Tuesday. So no one was able to get shots after Tuesday. So now that they've proven that they're running out of shots, the state's going to give them more shots. They did not give Prince George's County a comparable amount of shots based on our population. Every county over 250,000 got the same amount of shots. So for anybody who's interested in the whole equity issue, I mean, I'm surprised at Maryland in this case, because Prince George's County not only has the second largest population in the state, but it also has the highest number of COVID cases in the state. So you would have thought that there would have been a much larger amount of people vaccinated. So when you hear on the news where they go, oh, Prince George's County has only vaccinated a certain number, they've used all the shots that they've had to use. But there's huge problems in the distribution process in relationship to the systems that they're using to schedule appointments. I would urge everyone and anybody, if you have ability to get your shot through your physician or through your healthcare provider, you should go in that direction. So hopefully, one of the other things that we got to talk about was about, well, this wasn't on the county executive call, there's another call that we have that's with the state. And the state was, sort of crying out for help, but not really crying out for help. And many of us were saying, hey, bring it on home. If you guys bring it to us, we're closest to our community, bring us one of your mobile sites, and then we can get the word out for whoever is in what level. And, most of us, we know who our seniors are. We can reach them. We know where they are. We know when they are. We can do this. So bring us into the fold, and then we'll help more. So I think they heard us, but they are waiting to have more shots. So this week, they were supposed to get fourfold what they have been getting. And hopefully that's going to help. So there's more people wanting shots than there are shots right now. So, hopefully all of that changes. President Biden has said that we should have as many shots as for all adults by the end of May. I completely believe in him, so I believe that would be true. It doesn't mean that the distribution systems will work. So anyway, we're working on it, and we're going to continue to work on it, because if we can help, like Colmar Manor and Cottage City or the Porch Towns, we have the senior bus. If they have a mobile site here, we can bring the seniors from Bladensburg and just have the seniors come and get their shots. So fingers crossed, it's all going to get better. I'm looking forward to it. So that, I think, will be my report for now. So thank you all very much. And from there, we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Mr. Baden?
Yep, good evening, everyone. I will see if I could share the screen. I think it might have been locked at the moment, but I'll see if Tracy could unlock it. There we go. Thank you, Tracy. So this is the report for, there we go, through February 2021. You're all pretty familiar with the format of the report at this point. So the revenues, we had total revenues for the 8-month period of $1,241,000. Some items to note is the real property tax. We had budgeted, about $1 million. We've collected the majority of that, which is good. A lot of times we have, outstanding taxes that are sent to tax sale come March and April. So, it's only 17,000 outstanding. That's, above average for us. We did get our distribution of income tax in the month of February. That was in line with last February's numbers. So I think our budget estimate of 115,000 is going to be pretty accurate, because the February distribution mirrors the April distribution. And, those are two of the larger ones. So that's a good indication of where we will be for the year. So that is good to note. On the downside, again, red light camera violations are not increasing any. So, the $130,000 will definitely not be obtained this year. And those
Can
are,
you use the numbers so it's easier to get to it?
the account 4271 red light camera violations, 33,197 against $130,000 budget. No, we're really not seeing a tick up in that. Again, the red light camera operator claims that it's, because less people are on the road. I can't dispute it. I don't have any facts to do that other than what other municipalities have seen, which, they don't agree with. So, that's it on the revenue side. On the expense side, we start out with the general government expenditures. You can see, quite a few items here. I'm going to jump down to account 5363, which is the electronic sign that the mayor talked about, $13,270. We approved the contract for the electrical work for that sign at the work session last week, and we increased the budget from $27,000 to $37,000. As the mayor said, a $10,000 increase there. Hopefully things will fall in place. We won't have trouble with getting the permit from the county now that we have the contractor that's able to do that, and within the next month or so have that project completed. Total expenditures for general government shown above is $220,970. We have payroll taxes and benefits of $61,412. Under the senior van operations, $24,995. Code enforcement, $19,259 total. Public works expenditures, you could see, with a total of $168,243 year to date. Moving on to the community center and town hall accounts, they total $206,432. Largest portion of that being the debt service on the building from when it was constructed back in 2010, $157,110. Public safety, $231,261. Largest item there being salaries, of $176,000 shown under account 5954. Community center operations at $25,694, which is under our estimate by quite a bit due to the center being closed and the recreation programs and things like that that are put on at the community center have not happened this year. And then the COVID expense, which I've touched on in prior months, that hasn't changed any. Total expense for the 8 months was $1,010,000. If you subtract that from the total revenue, we're operating at a positive $230,060 at this point. That will, start decreasing as we finish out the year, mainly because the real property taxes are collected early and, they're used to fund the budget throughout the rest of the year. Balance sheet, you can see the cash in their various accounts, $400,745. We also have investment money in the investment account of $723,907, and most of the other items are pretty much the same as past months. Some small payable items, and that's about it. So I would ask you to accept the report as written and try to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I'll move to accept that report as written.
Is there a second?
That.
I
Councilmember
refuse that
Harden.
report.
Who am I hearing from? Is there a second?
I second the Councilmember Harden.
Okay, any discussion?
I do have a quick question. Mr. Baden, and perhaps Councilwoman Mendoza, you might be able to clarify me on this. When we were at our PGCMA meeting and we met with Senator Van Hollen, I remember Mayor Vohan of Colmar Manor, College Park, shared a document with us that implied that there may be additional funding coming to local communities with regard to COVID relief. Is there any information on that, anyone?
I've seen that document. I don't know if it's the same document, but I have seen a document, and I don't know where it came from, so I don't know the validity of it. But there are possibly substantial funds coming to the municipalities based on. I'm trying to find that right now.
Yes, Mr.
Well-
Baden, I'm not looking at it, but I think it was over $300,000. And I wasn't sure if that was actually confirmed and whether that would be, if we would have that available to us this year or if we'd have to wait, or any information you all have, because goodness knows that
The
sounds
one
good.
thing I heard Senator Cardin saying, I think it was just yesterday, I mean, definitely there's money that's coming down to the local states and local governments.
Mhm.
Now, what has happened in the past from history,
Mhm.
particularly back during the 2008 situation, is the money comes to the state. The state then allocates the money to the counties. And in that period of time, it stopped at the counties. It never came down to the municipal governments. Now, in the last care package that came out last year, the same thing happened. It went to the states allocated to counties. This time, our county executive, also Brooks, made a decision to allocate money to the towns and other municipalities. So that was a decision, a choice. She did not have to. And as I talked to other colleagues from other counties, some counties didn't do it. So a lot of municipalities and other counties didn't get money. We happen to get about $90,000 from CARE. And so it was based on numbers. So if we got 90,000, that means a place like Bladensburg probably got about $350,000 to $400,000. So I heard Senator Cardin saying yesterday that I think, and I might be wrong, but I think he said that like Baltimore was going to get $60 million or something like that.
Pretty significant numbers.
Yes, right. So hopefully the same scenario. The last time when they gave us the money through CARES, we could only use it on very specific COVID related activities, nothing else. And this time, this bill is supposed to be more flexible to really assist us in moving our programs forward, helping us out of this hole. So that's what I know.
Yeah.
And once it's passed, hopefully that's what it'll be, is that we'll know. Well, the county executive will send something down. Because if you guys are looking, I'll ask my question. Unless you want to add to your question. Okay, my question is, as you can observe, I have a question. You guys can see some of the heavy negatives that are on our budget line revenues on the first page. And, these are things that we're going to have to contend with this year and going forward. As Mr. Baden said, now that we've had most of our real estate money in, there's not like going to be a huge influx of revenue at this point. So everything we spend this point forward is going to be mostly the negatives. However, Mr. Baden, I don't understand 4141 for the whole year. We wind up at minus 6,226 in our revenue line item.
Yep. So I'll answer two. I do want to add on to Councilmember Bowles' question, because I do have a little bit more information and I was able to find the numbers. So I'm seeing $269,000 to $324,000 coming to Colmar Manor based on the formula they use. And the formula is really based on population. And from what I understand, whether it comes from the state down to us or, that's to be seen, but I don't think the state or the county is going to have the option to hold on to it. I believe as passed, or if it passes, it will flow down to the municipalities and that there will be minimal restrictions on those funds. You cannot use it for debt service and you cannot use it for something else is what I heard, but those were the only two restrictions. So it sounds like it's really to help supplement lost revenues, whatever way you see fit. But, once it's passed, I'm sure there'll be, hundreds of pages of guidance for someone to decipher through to tell us what we can and cannot do. But I do believe it will be less restrictive.
That's great.
That is great.
Yep. So that is the answer to that question. other question Mayor had is a good question. The account 4151 senior van income Bladensburg. The reason for that is because the January or the July through December billings did not get paid till March. So the billings to the other towns we did not receive as revenue until March. So they won't show until the March report. So that amount is actually a refund we had to give to Cottage City because in 2019, I think it was, they, through some type of, looking back themselves, determined that we billed them the percentage that we should have billed Bladensburg. So we billed them both the same percentage, which, as for those of you who don't know, Bladensburg pays the largest portion of the operation of the senior van because, they have the most riders. So instead of, 10%, let's say, to Cottage City, I ended up billing them 70% 2 years ago. The city administrator over there made me aware of it, and, we did make that refund to them. So that is why that's a negative. Which will have an effect on that line item, as we go for, finish out the year. I'm also, for the April work session, I have already started and just about complete an analysis of all of the revenue and all of the expenditure accounts and where I think we will be in each of those accounts based on, the information I have at this point. So I think that, I think that's important, especially for new council members, that you see that, because we did budget a deficit budget this year, and then other things have happened since then. So there's a lot of things to consider, and I think we need to get ahead of the curve before we really get into the budget. So I will hopefully get that out to you well in advance of the meeting for you to review. And then we could have some, good discussion at that meeting and probably some decisions that need to be made for the rest of this year as to some things that are budgeted that we may need to cut back on. So, I will hope to have that to you early enough so you can look at it and we could discuss it in April.
Thank you, Mr. Payton. That sounds great.
Yep.
Yes, appreciate it. Can you remind me, do you know what our deficit number was that we budgeted?
It was, hold on one second. We budgeted $152,000 deficit.
Okay.
And so we'll go into all those details at the meeting. I mean, I've got a lot of the numbers here. The only thing I haven't looked at are the salary numbers. I've looked at all the other accounts at this point. So hopefully I'll get the salaries done tomorrow at the latest next week, and then get those out in advance of the meeting for discussion.
Okay, and so this $6,000 that credited to Cottage City, so are you, if I'm understanding you right, so we kind of, if we built Cottage City 70% and we built Bladensburg 70%, that in itself is greater than the whole.
Yeah.
Did we bill them not just a higher percent, but also for more? Oh, okay, so we built greater than the whole for a lengthy period of time? Because $6,000 seems like a lot.
No, that's about what Bladensburg pays us on a quarterly basis. So, that's, that is equivalent to Bladensburg percentage. And so, basically I generate one bill for one town, then I usually Bladensburg first, and then I do Cottage Cities, and then my calculations, I left the percentage in for Bladensburg. So, and didn't catch it, and they didn't either until last month when the town manager over at Cottage City asked for 3 years of data on the van because she was doing some research, and she found it out, and I've investigated it, and unfortunately agreed with her. So
Okay.
they we repaid them, and I costed it to that item because it was the revenue we received, and I think it should be offset against the revenues from this year, and netted out.
Okay,
Same purpose.
okay, well, good for her.
Yep.
Okay, so highway users, are we, are we online? I know the state's having some financial challenges, but we're in line. This is the amount they're supposed to pay us, right? I mean, it's not this far behind.
It's estimated $49,328, and they are just behind in paying it out. I don't know why. That is probably July and August figures included in there. So, we just got September and October and March. They pay us 2 months at a time. But, it's just a delay. So, current estimates I have are 49,328, which will be reflected on the analysis that I provide you all for April.
Okay, thank you for that. And for the income tax, is it normal? Is that normal that we're like at a halfway point for income tax? I thought it would come in bulk like the real estate.
It comes in 8 or 9 times a year. And as I stated in my report, the February distribution and the February, March, April distribution mirror each other based on, they do that based on what has come in to date and tax returns that have been filed and that type of thing. I estimate that, we're going to be closer to 125,000 by the end of the year. So if last year's numbers, because right now the monies we're getting is falling in line with last year, which, that gives us a good indication of where we should end up. So I'm sure we're going to meet the 115,000 is my estimate, and that we will probably exceed it. And I've upped it to 125,000.
Right. Well, we should have been impacted by the fact that they moved tax day to up till July, which put it in this year, which means all those income taxes that we might have gotten from last year, if they filed in April, wind up in this year in July.
Yeah, if people, yep.
Yeah,
If
so it
people
really,
delayed, yep.
right. I mean, it really should be higher, except for the fact that there's so many people who have been on unemployment, but there's still funds that should come from there as well. But last question I have for you, I think, is on the CDBG. Have we not gotten any reimbursements for any of the work that we had done? Is it that we have to wait till the end before we get any reimbursement?
No, yes, we have received it, but it was in last fiscal year, so it's not reflected here. The analysis that you'll get will show, the revenue being adjusted 84,929, whereas on here, well, it does say 84,929, but the grant was for like 165,000, and that was all received last fiscal year. So this is only the current money left.
Okay. I got you. I understand now. I don't know why I thought that was the whole amount, but that's the amount that's left. Okay. All right. Anybody have any additional questions? All right. I'll call for a vote. Ward 1.
With great deals, get ready to turn your dreams into reality.
Become an all-wheel drive Venza with $1,750 total cash allowance, or pick a Camry and get super points.
Ward 2. Ward 2 is absent. Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. And Chief, tell me this, as I bring you on to give a police report, is there somebody trying to screw around with our Zoom?
I don't. I've heard the voice or a voice twice, but can't quite see where it's coming from.
It's coming from a block that's
My
marked.
whole screen was taken up by somebody with like a teddy bear in their hand or something
Yeah,
odd.
that was one of our people online who I think accidentally shared their screen. So
Oh, okay, all right, okay. Okay, well, moving on, you have a report for us, Chief.
I'm gonna try to share my screens. Let's see how that works. Hopefully no teddy bears will pop up, but let's see if I can. All right. Okay, I think I've got things going here. And good evening, everyone. The police report for February of 2021 should be on your screen, and it was also posted on the website. There were 64 calls for service during the month of February. These are a majority of these are actually where people call in, and this is the type of call that is reported, with the exception of a few, which are traffic stops, which the officers call out with. They're in here as well. I won't go through all of them, but I will pick out a couple. There we had, it's a very unusual call. We had a bomb threat during the month at the Burger King. No bomb was found. I don't know what precipitated that, why somebody called in a bomb threat, but no devices were found. And we'll notice on here that there's a carjacking reported. I mentioned it last month, and it'll be detailed further in this report, where it was not actually a carjacking, it's actually a stolen vehicle that didn't occur in town. But I'll get to that in a moment.
Can somebody mute who's got activity going on?
All right, is it? And moving on to the reports for the month, just touch briefly on those. We had 11 reports during the month of February, compared to 9 for the month of January. We had a theft at the Lucky Mart, where a customer left their wallet on the counter, accidentally left the store and came back and it was gone. We had shoplifting reported at the Compare Foods, where 2 people were suspected of shoplifting. The property was recovered and they were advised against trespassing and sent on way. A minor property damage accident, hit and run in the parking lot of IHOP. And the auto theft on February 5th, that's what was initially reported as a carjacking. It was not a carjacking, was a regular auto theft and did not occur in town. A resident reported a lost passport. A theft from auto at Compare Foods and IHOP on the morning of February 12th, when windows were broken and property was stolen from the inside of the car. That's the type of theft that we'll be addressing at the neighborhood watch meeting. We had a missing person report, 13-year-old, essentially a runaway. They did return, but they've since been reported missing again. And we had 2 thefts from autos. These are unusual theft from autos from Colmar Manor. These occurred in the late hours between the 16th and the 17th. I believe that they actually occurred at the same time. There's just one was late being reported, and that's where vehicles were broken into and construction tools were stolen. And then lastly, we had an assault reported in the 3400 block of 41st Avenue. The victim was transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and that's still being investigated. But that seems to be between folks that know each other. We had 2 traffic accidents reported during the month, both on Bladensburg Road, one in the 3400 block near the cemetery, and one in the 3800 block in front of the Port Town Shopping Center. Traffic enforcement, we had 11 traffic stops resulting in 31 violation notices issued. As Council Member Bowles reported, we're going to have a neighborhood watch meeting. That's resuming after about a year of absence. That'll be the evening of Thursday, March 25th, 7 p.m. via Zoom, and we'll be sending out the links for that. The food distribution has started up again, and we're assisting with that. And when we have an abundance, we do deliver it to the seniors. And if you'd like to be included in that, please contact Renee at the town hall. For our code enforcement, in the near future, we're going to have a lot of information pushed out on leash laws and scooping the poop and the trash and the parking. So hopefully bring everybody up to date and get things a little bit better in line. At the end of the report is some of the code enforcement activities. The majority of that is related to trash. There is one incident in there, one item where a fence was being built and without a permit, and a stop work order has been placed on that, and that's investigation regarding that is continuing. Some other items was mentioned earlier, the construction at 40th at Newark. That started yesterday and will be going on for about a month. I contacted the contractor on that, and they're going to improve the signage on that a little bit. There's a little bit of confusion, and people are driving up to it, but we're going to get that rectified tomorrow. I'll be working with code for other code violations other than trash. Get that moving forward. School is going to be going kind of live, I guess, or back in person in April. And that's going to bring school buses back into town, and we'll endeavor to be there in the morning and in the afternoon as the kids go to school and return. Issue with trash cans and cones, reserving parking spaces was discussed. I've spoken with 2 residents about that, and hopefully it's been resolved. I'll continue to monitor that. And at our last meeting, we passed an emergency ordinance regulating 24-hour businesses. We had a business open in town that was had advertised as going 24 hours, but that's not going to be the case. And that's all I have. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you so much, Chief. Appreciate that. For any questions, I'll ask, is there a motion to accept the police report?
Evelyn wanted to kind of instigate.
I'll make that motion stated.
Okay, is there a second?
Councilmember Harding, second that motion.
Okay. Mendoza Harding. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am. I have a couple of questions if possible.
Councilmember Bowl?
Thank you. Chief, if there's a 911 call and it's a hang-up call, does 911 return that call to that residence, or do they just record it?
It varies. They'll always try to call back. Oftentimes there's no answer, and depending on what was said or wasn't said during the call, they'll dispatch police to it. Sometimes, and probably more often than not, it comes from a cell phone, so you can't really determine the landline. They can tell the address. That's easy. If it's a cell phone, they can often not pinpoint an exact location, but can give an approximate location. And depending on what's on the line, oftentimes people call and say, "Hey, send the police," and you hang up. And if it's a cell phone, they may be able to give an approximate location. For instance, somewhere near the 4300 block of Bladensburg Road, and they'll go and send that out. And check.
Sorry.
It really depends on the type of on the situation.
So they don't send anyone out to check out the address just to make sure everything's okay, or necessarily call them back.
If they can determine the exact address, yes, usually. Often, I think more often than not now, it is a cell phone, so they can't give an exact location. But we often get the calls of a 911 hang up, and there's commotion on the line, and it came from a cell phone in the area of Bladensburg Road, and we'll check the area and see if there's an obvious disturbance there.
Got you. We have I'm always going to school, so I'm going to ask you another question. T traffic stop. I kind of Googled that, and is it a pullover and detain, but not arrest? Am I getting that right?
Oh, that's funny. You always come up with a good question. That is just a regular traffic stop, and I believe why it's called a T is when the dispatchers, there's so many of them that the code for entering it in is just T.
Oh, okay.
That shows up on here, but it's just a regular traffic stop. Nothing abnormal about it.
Gotcha. And then one last question for you: the assault that happened on my street on 3400 block. I understand that was between folks who were acquainted with one another. Was that on the street, or was that inside of a residence?
On the street, I'd say resulting or having to do with the residents not on that street. originated around the corner, but ended up on your street.
Okay, thank you.
Can I follow up on that question? They were, the question being, were they people who were familiar with one another?
Yes.
Anybody else have any other questions? All right, I'll call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
I accept.
Ward, okay, who just said that? Chief, can you tell who just said that? I accept, because there's no Ward 2 right now. Okay, Ward 2 absent. Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4,
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. All right, thank you so much for that report, Chief. Appreciate you, appreciate officers, appreciate the sergeant. You know, keep doing what you do. Appreciate code enforcement. So thank you so much. All right, moving on to our community reports. Do we have a representative of the Garden Club on? Okay, so Mr. Bowles, since you were at the last meeting, can you offer like any dates of or anything that you learned in the last meeting?
I am woefully unable to help you, Mayor. They are doing virtual meetings. I believe they're planning to start meeting in person in April. And there are talks about reinstating the Yard Beautiful campaign. And that's about all I remember. I did not prepare a remarks because I thought that someone was going to be here this evening. I apologize.
Yep, that's perfectly okay. I'm just using you since you said you were there. But okay, I'm sure we'll hear. I did just receive today, and I sent out to all of you guys that the applications for beautification awards are out there. So if anybody in your community, you feel like their yard really deserves that, you know, that they're doing what they're doing and keeping it up, let them know about this application. Take a look at it. I don't know what the deadlines are. I just forwarded it out to everybody. But, you know, if somebody's doing a good job, they should be rewarded. We've been fortunate that our gardens, both of them, East and West, have gotten awards year after year after year for beautification awards. So we're excited about that happening. So, all right. So we'll look forward to what we get from the Garden Club. And is there anybody here that's representing the Green Team? No, well, I'm looking forward to the Green Team getting back together again. I'm gonna put out a little, just a little, please come back message out there and see if we can get them going again too. Because, you know, with us, I'm working on this with the sump pumps and the stormwater, all of that fits in with our Green Team. And I really want their input because before COVID, it was a really strong, capable group of people. And we want to get them back involved again. Is there any reports on municipal PGCMA?
Sorry about that. Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. PGCMA is meeting on, well, we meet every Thursday, the third Thursday of the month. So this month will be the 18th. And we are, for our council that's on here, and Mayor, elections are coming up in May for PGCMA. So we're looking for treasurer, secretary, vice president, and of course the multiple seats on the board, I believe. So that's coming up. So that's what I have for PGCMA.
All right, well, thank you for that. Anybody have any other reports? Senior, I know Neighborhood Watch, Councilmember Bowles, you've started a conversation, you've got a meeting set up, so that's gonna move forward. We'll be able to have more information on that from next month. From the Recreation Council, I can just say that we're working on some kind of event for Women's History Month. I said we're going to get the flag. We're looking forward to doing something similar as we did for Black History Month. Maybe have a book. We haven't settled on what. One idea out there was to actually just bring people together and talk about a powerful, important woman in their life. And let's just have a discussion. I think that would be an awesome way to honor women in our lives, and also give us an opportunity to chat and talk, because I just want to say that in the Black History Month discussion we had about the Black church, this is our story, this is our song. I just love the interaction of us just talking amongst each other and telling stories about things that in our lives. And if we can do that, and I'm thinking that that's a great way to bring people together, because people do want to talk about those special people in their lives. So I think that may be the direction we're going in. We were trying to go for we were trying to go for March the 25th, which is a Thursday, but alternative March the 26th. I forgot to say in my seniors report, in our mayor's report, is that the county executive wants to do a listening session on Thursday, March the 25th. So she's moving forward with that date. We're going to have to abandon it. And so I think the 26th will be the day that we go for, and to move that program forward. So that's the Recreation Council. I'm happy that we got it done. It's been hard, and we ask that the Recreation Council meets on the first Monday of every month. So I encourage you all, if you can find at least one resident in your district who would want to participate on the council, it'll bring a nice group, because before COVID, we had a nice group there too. So it's kind of just broken us all up in different ways. I can only tell you about our seniors is that we stay in contact with them weekly, and for all those who wanted to be signed up, we've assisted them in being signed up. So we will continue to assist them. If they get calls back from the county and they need help, we'll make sure that they get what they need in order to get their vaccinations taken care of. So that's reporting on what's going on with the seniors. They're all looking forward to getting back out again, I'll tell you that. Okay, so that being the reports, is there anybody online who would like to say? I see Councilmember Bowles.
Mayor, I was digging around and I found a few scant notes I took from the Garden Club.
Okay.
I know that they are considering putting together a flea market at the bazaar to raise money for the club. They talked about the soil budget for this year and allocating funding for that. They've spent around a third of their budget, so they're ahead of the curve, because of course we're more than halfway through the year. They asked me to ask the mayor, and I want to say thank you to the mayor. The Garden Club ladies were the ones who requested the meeting, that we move our committee meetings earlier in the meeting. So thank you, Mayor, for responding for that. I wish one of them was here to thank you too. And video help. They're looking for students to help with video processing for the Garden Club as well. So if there are any younger folks or any older folks, I suppose, out there that want to assist the Garden Club with creating a potential video to highlight their work, I know they're looking for someone, and Dretha Epps is in charge of the Garden Club. Mayor, I don't have her email address right off. Is there a way that we can encourage people to connect with her directly, or should they just call the town hall?
I think they should call the town hall. I mean, I'm not sure what email she's using for an open forum such as this.
Gotcha.
So town hall, it's good.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Great.
That's what I got for them.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. So we got some kind of report there. I'm actually surprised because Ms. Epps is always on. So I hope
Well,
everything.
she has her mother with her now, so I'm sure she's tired and.
Oh, yeah, that makes a difference. It certainly does. Okay, so thank you all for those reports. I'll open it up if there is any citizen comments at this point.
Good evening. This is Yolanda Barnett. How's everyone?
Great, thank you.
I miss
And
Amanda.
Hello.
Can you just state your street and
3605 41st Avenue.
okay.
And in listening to the report, I just had, because my thing is taxes and high taxes. So my question is, it's been eon years, we talking about 20 years when we on the council voted against an electronic sign. I have a question, how did that come about? And why are we spending $37,000 on a sign in this day and time when we are behind in revenue?
So the sign has been brought up several times. I was back there with you back 20 years ago, but it's been
And
brought
we
up several.
voted against it.
Yeah, but we.
And I know things have changed. I know we're in a new century.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and that's
along
just
with-
it.
but
We
when
are
I
in a new
hear-
situation.
When I hear of 152,000 deficit, and on the other side, hearing that we are spending $37,000 on a sign, that doesn't sit well with me.
And I accept that. We had voted for this sign before COVID and had also already had started the process. Already had spent certain money. So before we were in that situation, we had already been and started in the process. And so over the period of time, I mean, there are so many different locations that have gotten ahead of us in this area, and it's just really important for the communication process. And it was something that was decided on before COVID came about. It actually had been started on before COVID.
Well, you know, personally, and I still saying, I think those signs are a safety hazard because people have to slow down to read those signs, but neither here nor there about that. I would like to follow up with a question, and this is a budgetary question. In terms of how the deficit is running now, what are we, and the red light cameras, you know, money's way down, and the hall rentals way down. People are not just gonna jump up and start making parties. So what are we doing in terms of cutting things that are not necessarily a must in order to get this deficit down and not have to go to our reserve?
So our expenses right now are way down from what we had. If you look at the reports and the percentages, we would normally be at 66% of what we have budgeted, and almost every line item is well below 66%. So our expenses will come in less. Mr. Baden, as he stated, is going to give us an analysis in April so that we can actually see where we're likely to land and really get a good feel for it. I'm hoping with the fact that we're not spending as much money, and we're not spending as much money because we don't have as much activity going on. And so hopefully we'll fall somewhere around even with the deficit that we already accepted. So every year in the past since I've been mayor, we've done better than we thought we were going to do with our expenses. So I'm hoping that's going to bring, but the bottom line is he said he's going to give us some analysis next month. So
Okay, well,
we're following.
hopefully, and I thank you for that explanation. Hopefully, and I'm sure Dan will do a great job, keeping in mind that the red light monies is not going to just start flowing back, because it's not going to ever return possibly to what it was, and the hall rentals. So I think even the whole council need to look at ways that we can cut expenses and not totally rely on these red light cameras, income, and the hall rentals for the next year. Not even for the next budget year, not even this one that we're getting ready to approve. Because it's going to take that long for us to even begin to recuperate.
Well, even with this budget that we had, we cut 30% off of everything except salaries in the budget. But so we did, this budget you're looking at right now, and this one was a really heavily cut budget. We would have been in a deficit of more like $260,000 without the cuts that we made. So it's a trim down budget, and I don't know if we're going to do much better, but hopefully we get this money from the state, which will help us to stop us from having to go back and reserve in this next year. And then we can see how we play it out right now.
Well, I hope it works out, because they always say don't count your eggs before they hatch, and that money may not come. And I think that even in a personal budget, I would not have spent $37,000 on an electronic sign, especially in this day and time. I think that's that's a big chunk of money that did not have to go out the door based on what's going on now. That could have been put on the back burner because it's not a must to keep operation. People don't read those things anyway, and they blink so fast, you got to stop to read it. So if it's a matter of communicating, unfortunately, that raggedy sign has been working, but perhaps we could have gone somewhere cheaper in terms of sending out some paper or newsletter or email or something, as opposed to spending that kind of money on a sign. And that's all I have to say.
Well, I appreciate your comments and I appreciate you as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, well, we're hearing none. I thank you, residents. If you're staying on and you want to continue, I will offer another opportunity after we have our old business and new business, if someone wants to make a comment on that. Okay, so getting to the approval of the minutes. I don't know, because we didn't get a whole package all at once, and I've talked to Mr. Baden about that to make sure whatever everything is in the final package, it should all come, even if we received it prior to now. And that being said, I don't have the December 15 minutes. And Mr. Bull, I'm going to kind of defer to you, who made reference that there was still an incorrect matter in the last one that we received. Have you seen a copy that's come back since that?
Yes,
email?
ma'am. We got them from Kayla, December 15 and January 12. And they look much better. Things are much tighter. The only issue with the December 15th minutes are, just to be clear, minutes are a snapshot of that moment. We can't go back in time and project forward something that happened later, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so then we haven't, I keep bringing this thing up, I'm sorry, but under the designation of check signers and audit committee, it has been corrected that Councilmember Harding and Mendoza were assigned check signing, but then it says Council members Hobbs and Bowles were a part of the audit, were assigned to the audit committee. I did not receive an assignment that evening. It was later when I requested an assignment that I was designated alternate check signer. So correctly, that should read Council members Harding and Mendoza were well, it says volunteered, but were assigned or volunteered to be check signers. And the mayor and Irina Hobbs were designated to the audit committee. I was not designated anything that evening.
That is correct.
Other than that, it's spot on. And January 12th, I don't see any unless the other council members. January 12th omits a discussion from the neighborhood watch, but I wasn't sure whether that would be listed under the committee reports, or is that how that will go, Mayor? Will neighborhood watch report be there?
Yeah, the neighborhood watch should be under committee reports.
Okay, yeah, I did share something that evening. Please don't ask me to tell you what it was because I can't remember, but I did that evening share a report because I remember we had a discussion. Council member Hobbs was asking for clarification on if the council members would be assigned to be on those committees or if those committees would send representatives themselves. And I do remember I shared something that evening, so that was omitted. But otherwise, they are much cleaner.
Okay, Mr. Baden.
Yeah.
And we, because of the issue around the signers and the audit is a critical ones. And because we don't know what Mr. Bowles said on the neighborhood watch, which should be added, my suggestion is that we table these again, and that we get those two items corrected, because it is correct that Mr. Bowles was not present, or at least was not assigned. He was present on the call, but he was present on the call, but he was unable to communicate with us in those moments. And that was something that happened later, which quite frankly needs to happen in a public meeting. But the neighborhood watch, there's a report and it needs to be here. So I can't vote on this.
Which date is the neighborhood watch missing from?
January 12th.
I don't know, Abby. I've had discussion with Abby regarding the December 15th, and I was under the remembrance that you did assign Doug to the Councilmember Bowles to the audit committee as well. And then, so if your recollection and everyone else is that he was not, then why don't we just make that one correction to the minutes and approve them with that correction and get it done? Because that's the only correction there. Remove Bowles and just say, two were assigned to the withdrawal, one was assigned to the audit, and remove Bowles and we're done. As far as the January 12th, and then going back to the December 15th, Abby said the recording from that meeting was horrible and she could not understand anything. So our recollection's the best we could do. So, we can't even go back and listen to it. So let's just approve that one with that change.
Okay. Well, all right. I'm okay with that as long as we remove it. I mean, the bottom line is after the meeting, Councilmember Bowles said he was having some problem getting through to us when we were doing the assignments and that he would love to serve in whatever capacity made sense. And I sent him back an email that said, we always can use a signer. And so that's how that happened. So I'm okay with that. If we just take that off, because then we can deal with that separately when we talk about the actual ordinance related to.
And then for the 12th, we could have Abby go back and look and see if there's something you think you reported on the neighborhood watch as you gave your report.
Yes, sir. I think it was something very simple along the lines of I had communicated with former council member, Miss Blue, and that she had agreed to be the citizen connection or the head of our neighborhood watch, and that I would be functioning as liaison from the council, and that we had met with the chief, and I had met with all of the police officers individually to get to know them, and that we would be setting up a meeting with the chief sometime thereafter. It was for pretty much along those lines, I think, because we hadn't actually met yet, I don't think, at the time. So.
Okay. Abby, are you still on the call, Abby?
I don't see her.
I see her name. I don't know if she's still listening. There you go. All right. So are you clear on what you need to do with the January 12th minutes?
Yes, I will do that. And I just wanted to add, the neighborhood watch wasn't really in existence, so I guess that's why it was omitted. But I will make sure to go back and add that from starting now on, that we do have a neighborhood watch.
You mean it wasn't on the agenda?
Right.
Because we've always had a neighborhood watch, it just hadn't been active. But during the COVID time. Also, if I can just say, and I'm gonna say this to you also, Mr. Baten, I've had this conversation with Abby, is about the order in a vote is that it should always have the motion and the second, and then the word discussion should exist in that statement of a vote. If there is none, then the statement can say after discussion, none. And if there is some, then discussion, then that discussion can be disclosed in that vote. But just for the record, to indicate that we have always opened the conversation to discussion after a motion, and a vote should be explicit. I mean, a motion and a second, it should be explicit that we ask for discussion because it's a part of the vote process.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, and I agree.
Okay, and then the other thing, if we could just get some numbers on these pages, like page whatever of whatever, so we always know how many pages we're looking to see, so that we always know, if I got 1 of 3, I know there's 3 pages. Otherwise, we could lose the second and the third and never know which one, that we didn't have it. So if we could do those 2 things, I really appreciate it.
You got those, Abby?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So we're gonna move forward with December
we-
the 15th.
Okay, never mind.
Is there a motion to approve the December 15th minutes? Oh, with the correction that,
I'll move that we accept the
Councilmember,
15th minutes, provided that the correction be made to the attribution of fiduciary responsibility amongst the council. Thank you.
thank you. Is there a second?
Councilmember Harden, second. Motion is stated.
Okay, Heidi. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2. I'm sorry, Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Okay, mayor votes aye. All right, and then is there any objection to tabling the January 12th meetings until we have the language related to the neighborhood watch? No objections, so moved. That will be tabled until we come back. Mr. Bain, I also wanted to ask, when you said that the recordings were not great for that evening, because we have YouTube and we have Zoom. Is it both sets were checked on? Or Abby, you can answer the question.
Yeah, if Abby could answer that, because I didn't listen to either of them.
So it's part of the whole recording, more specifically when the new council members were sworn in, just the audio during that part, and certain parts it was good, certain parts it was not. So, but I did use the YouTube and also the audio recording.
Okay, so you checked both the Zoom and the YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure we're taking advantage of the fact that we have both of these recordings. Okay, well, thank you for that, guys. That'll take care of our situation with the minutes for now. And we will move forward with old business. The first item here, I wanted to bring up it's not for a whole lot of discussion at this time. This is really for discussion next month. At the work session, we talked about revisiting whether or not we would be opening the facility for whatever purposes. I will mention, and I meant to mention it when Yolanda was speaking, we get at least 2 calls to rent. Have you guys heard me? Was I on mute the whole time? Somebody muted
No,
me.
we heard you a little bit before.
Oh, okay. And then I got a message that said I got muted.
My apologies.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so we get at least a couple calls every single day for someone wanting to rent the facility. So the fact that we're not is more something that we're trying to make sure that we are completely prepared and know how to do what we might want to do. Anyway, to that point, I just put this on the agenda to ask the council that as we go through this next month and meet next month to talk about it, that maybe we also look at matrix that we want to look to use in determining when is a good time, what do the county numbers look like as to what makes sense. I know that that's been used in a lot of different scenarios with the state and the county where, if we open the schools at this matrix, when these numbers are down to this. So I'm just going to ask you guys to sort of, do some of your own research on what you see out there in terms of what matrices are being used. I know in New York, it's been very specific, like district by district by district. And hopefully we can get, and I'll try to see from the county if they'll give us a little bit more zip code data than they're giving us right now. So I just put it there for us to be prepared for that dialogue in our April work session as we talk further about that. Anybody have any comments you want to make at this time? Oh,
I think right now it's great because we've got, well, I don't know if it's great or not. My students at the universities are on spring break. So I think the timing of this analysis is great because every time there's a large travel, we see a spike. So it'll be interesting to see as the weather warms, If the students travel, which I know they are doing, and we've seen the pictures on the news of maskless reveling, it'll be interesting to see in 3 weeks or so whether we've had a spike, because I'm taking hope in the warming of the weather, and as we get more and more people vaccinated. I think that'll be really, really super to be able to judge it on that. But yeah, that's all I've got to say.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I agree. I think one of our matrices probably should be like the percentage of people who've been vaccinated in the Washington metropolitan area, since that whole area is who rents from us. So that should be a really big number, important number that we're looking at. So,
and Mayor, I don't know if we have a way to purchase one of those. Is it a mister or it's one of those amazing things, that magic wand that they spray around everywhere. I know that was a big part of opening some of the schools. They were able to purchase those things, and they're quite effective, as well as just limiting, exposures to once a day, maybe, just so that the room really has time to air out between uses. But yeah, I thank you so much for encouraging us that way.
Mr. Baden, I recall that being on our list. Because when we figured out, when wow, I'm a senior moment.
Quorum?
Public Works.
Quorum?
Yeah, Public Works had found some sprayers. I remember that we were going to be able to, so we didn't have to, because at first we had all that money in the budget to have people come in to do it, but then they found that they could get the sprayers. Where are we on that?
I'm not aware that they ever followed through with it, and I had suggested it as well. I'd say it's not too late.
Well, let's do that. Let's get those, because I'm almost sure I remember that they found it was going to be so much cheaper. Matter of fact, I remember talking about having one for every floor. I had this conversation, getting one for every floor. So can you check on that and see where we are on that? Thank you for bringing that back up, Councilmember Bowles, because it's sort of like is a thing. All right. Next item is the charter resolution. This is the publication of public hearings. So the point of the change, which we had discussed, the reason why it's old business is because we already had this conversation. We had this conversation about, hold on here, about the fact that in our charter, it states that we will put the news, each ordinance shall be published in a newspaper or newspapers having general circulation in town. Now, Mr. Barr has gone about making some changes to this. I have offered to Mr. Barr that my preference was that rather making any additional changes further than that issue of newspaper, that we simply change each ordinance shall be published in a communication medium having general circulation in town. That way it opens us up to having any kind of general medium of the circulation in town. It simplifies what we change, and we don't have to sort of go through a whole lot of process of understanding all of this additional language as it's been changed. So, Mr. Barr, is Mr. Barr on the line?
Yes, he is.
All right, I'm going to let you have your point of view on this, because this is my preference is that's all we do is we simply change where it says newspaper or newspapers to medium, a communication medium having general circulation in town, which just simple as that. That's the only thing. I will let you give your point of view as to why you have all of this language in here at this point.
Well, I have it all in here, so it's all encompassing. my idea on the charter resolution was to change something which I think is a lot of gobbledygook into a readable section. And I wanted also to pick up the emergency passage of ordinances, since we have two which should be pending. Now, when I went into reviewing the ordinance, I felt that section 307 of the charter was more gobbledygook and more difficult to understand, and felt that it should be repealed and replaced with a new section 307. And where it talks about an ordinance should be reviewed within 60 or no less than 6 days after the meeting at which it's introduced. That gives us a period of time in which we can adopt an ordinance, pass it, or do nothing, in which case it will die of its own weight for the charter. With regard to how it would be published, I tried to put everything out there so that a challenge to it. I don't think that will occur. That's what my experience tells me, but I wanted to make sure that we had a belt and suspenders and several other means of keeping us properly set to go on what we had to do. So I said it could be in a circular that's delivered to the residents of town. It should be posted on the town municipal hearing board and on the town building. And or by other means or combination thereof, found to be satisfactory by a majority of the members of the mayor and council. And it's my intention to put language to that effect as a new section in every piece of legislation that follows this particular type of notice to the public. So the mayor and council will find in each particular piece of legislation that we adopt that a reasonable summary of this ordinance has been published by notices delivered, by the posting of the ordinance on the town municipal building and the town bulletin board, and by other means or combination thereof found to be satisfactory to the members of the mayor and town council. I also left in the publication by a general, in a newspaper having general circulation in the town. Mayor, I know that's a red flag to you, but humor me on this if you would, please. Trying to protect what we do. And then I go on to say, excuse me, my earpiece dropped. You don't see it. Can you hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
No. Let me see what I can do. Let me see, what do I do to get myself back on?
I can see you, Mr. Barr.
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I'm sorry. I
Okay.
lost contact.
Okay,
I
so
use an
Mr.
earpiece and I
Barr,
can't keep it in.
Mr. Barr, if
I
I
can't keep it in
can,
my earphone. Yes, ma'am.
if I can, so I don't have objections to what it is that you are trying to accomplish in improving the wordings of it. But my preference is that we have a conversation about these things prior to coming to a general meeting to discussion. And the only reason this is on the agenda as old business is because we already had a discussion about changing the simple language in relationship to the newspaper. So I can appreciate you on the look and to make it, better, but I feel like these are things that should come into a work session. We should fully understand what changes you're making and why, and it should be a work session conversation. That way, when we bring it to the public meeting for an introduction, we all know what we're introducing. So.
I have no problem with that, Mayor.
So is it possible that we can make, I mean, I don't know if it's possible now that we don't have something written, but if it's possible, we can introduce a charter amendment change R1 2021 that is only related to changing the words newspaper and newspapers to communication medium.
If you want to do that, you can.
And then you can bring back, you can bring the other parts back in the next work session.
I have no problem with that whatsoever. I just want to make sure that this charter resolution is properly amended later to include this, and that amendment is not considered to be a material amendment. I'm just trying to be very, very, very careful here because I don't want this to be capable of being challenged in the court.
Okay. Right now, my brain is only on newspaper. So everything that you want to say and explain to us, I completely appreciate. But my brain had a conversation about newspapers and all these new things that you're talking about. My brain hasn't had a conversation. So.
Hey, I suggest, please, go ahead.
Yes.
I was going to suggest that this is a resolution and does not require it to be introduced and thereafter adopted at a later meeting. We can introduce it and adopt it next month without a problem at the general session. We can talk about it at the work session. We can continue to talk about it as time goes by. I don't have any problem with that. I'd rather not amend it to delete parts, but if that's your pleasure, then I'll go along with it.
Well, the pieces of issue that I have in doing that, what you're suggesting is that in what is the second page, where it says a reasonable summary of each ordinance shall be published by notice delivered to the town residents in any town circular. The posting of notice of the proposed ordinance on the town municipal building and town bulletin board, or by any other means or combination thereof found to be satisfactory by the majority of the members of the mayor and town council. Such notice may also be made by publication of a reasonable summary of such ordinance in a newspaper or newspapers having general circulation in town. In every case except emergencies as provided herein, such notice must be made at least 6 days prior to such ordinance being considered by the mayor and town council. That is way more. I'm looking forward to something that gives us the ability to communicate in any means that becomes possible for us And who knows where the world and technology goes from here. And I don't know where the 6 days is coming from on this line item, but I thought the language already existed that was plain enough. So the reason I'm not, and the second part of it is the language about the newspaper also exists in section 609, and it exists in section A1-110. So if we were to just pass an ordinance that only changes this newspaper or newspapers to communication medium, it's simple, it's broad, it opens up, it's straightforward. And then we can revisit all the other language in this at another date. Now, if there's a
Well,
council
as
member
I
who
said,
would like
Mayor-
to introduce this now as it's been given to us, you have a right to make a motion. I'm personally not ready because I just don't feel like we've had the conversation we should have about it.
Mr. Barr, you said that this would be a resolution. You could adopt it at any time. It's actually a charter amendment resolution, which requires the wait time that it could be petitioned to referendum. So I think it's, I think that needs to be made clear.
I mean, I thought you told me, Mr. Barr, that it can be adopted, but the public has the right to a referendum within 60 days of adoption if they want it, but not that it's
60 days.
But not that it's hold open
Yeah.
for 60 days. It can still be
The
adopted
public
prior
has the
to.
right. That's in the annotated code.
So, Mr. Baden, you see that differently?
Mayor?
I said it doesn't become effective until after the petition period, and it states that. I mean, he has that written right in the legislation on page 3, section 2. I mean, you could approve it.
On the 50th day after the adoption of the resolution, plus on or before the 40th day after being adopted, it shall be presented to, they mailed to it by certified mail return receipt and the postmark from the United States.
Well, you don't need a public hearing for a charter amendment, John? I mean, that's a major piece of legislation.
No.
No?
No. I'm told that by several other groups right now. Some people changing charters like crazy, and not giving, because they don't have to have a public hearing. So they just changing them like crazy. These other things about people being notified of their rights of a charter amendment that I would want to propose that we include in here, that not only is it advertised, but that after it's adopted, people are informed of their right to a referendum. You know what? For the ordinances that we still have to do and get over with right now, it will be at least 50 days before it will come live. And so we got to post in the newspaper, But if we want to have a public hearing for ordinance, if we post in the newspaper, what is it, Thursday when we have to post, Mr. Baden?
Monday for Thursday publication, Monday by noon for Thursday publication.
Monday by noon for Thursday publication. So in relationship to our sub-pump, we would not be able to have a hearing until like a week from next Thursday. Is that the way it would be? If we put it in next Monday, it's in the paper.
You don't need a public hearing, Mayor.
For the sump pump ordinance, we do.
One's not necessary unless you want to have it.
No, for the sump pump ordinance, we need to have a hearing.
Oh, yes.
So the reason why we're trying to get rid of this newspaper language is so that we're not stuck in this. We voted on Tuesday. We can't put it in the paper until Monday. It won't come out into the newspaper until Thursday. And then we can't have the public hearing until 7 days after it goes into the newspaper. And so this newspaper thing is creating a huge problem. It is the thing that we need to get rid of as soon as possible. And even if we were voting on it today, just about that, the newspaper, it would still take us 15 days before we get there. So that's the point. But unless somebody has some objections, I would like to table this until next month.
So just to be clear, Mayor, if we pass an ordinance this evening, it will come under the pre-existing charter. A code, sorry.
It will, yes.
So we will operate, and even if we did pass this, this wouldn't come into activity for a while.
That's correct.
Well, I'm okay with tabling it, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to voice it that way. I would also like to propose, and I think we have a 75% new council, and we are talking about intricate goings on of the government that we are desperately trying to catch ourselves up on. But I think it would be, at least I will say, I'm volunteering myself for additional special work sessions, if necessary, to work through these legislations with you and Mr. Barr and Mr. Baden and our fellow council with more experience, so that we feel comfortable making serious charter-related decisions, fully armed with understanding.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I think this matter should be tabled to the work session, or return to the work session for further discussion. That would satisfy your questions. That would satisfy Councilmember Bowles' questions. It would satisfy my questions. And I think it would prove useful to do that.
Okay,
And
well,
that was my suggestion, hopefully initially. I'm more than happy to have that happen. I'm also more than happy to speak to any council member or you about this and why I have decided to go certain ways.
I completely appreciate that. And like I said, I don't have a problem with it. I just really want to make sure that before we are making a decision to introduce something, that we have had the conversation. And I'm open to having additional meetings. I know that my prior council, everybody had already a familiarity with a whole lot of things, which can cause us to shorten some of our conversations. But as we're going on longer conversations, it's taking us longer to get through things. So I'm open to having additional sessions so that we're able to do that.
I have no problem, Madam Mayor, with individual council members calling me. I'm delighted to speak with them when they call. And I would say the same for Mr. Baden. In fact, I'm very delighted when he calls.
Sure. But preferably we come together in a room and we can talk about these things so that we're all hearing the same thing.
Precisely.
Right. And I also, just for everyone's information, I'll send it out as soon as I finish talking. Maryland Municipal League has a charter amendment handbook. It's a 15-page handbook that spells out the procedures. So I'll send that out to everyone just so that they understand the process and so that there's no questions.
Got it. Okay, do we have to take a vote to table something that's on the agenda?
You don't need a second, but you can take a vote. You should.
Okay, so is there a motion to table?
You're not really tabling this matter. You're returning it to the work session for further discussion.
Isn't that what tabling is? It's on the agenda, it's an agenda item. We should somehow mention what action was taken. So what are we calling it? Furthering it?
For further comment and discussion. A motion to return this matter to the work session for further comment and discussion.
Okay, so is there a motion to return this line item 11B from the agenda to our next work session for further comment and discussion?
I'll make that motion as stated, Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Baden, Mr. Barr, you're saying we don't need a second on this?
You do need a second on this.
Okay, is there a
It's not a
second?
motion to table.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion has it. If I can just be clear, Mr. Harding, I think you were still on mute. So, okay, gotcha. 4-0. All right, moving on to new business, which is resolution R-2-2021. Mr. Barr, you want to read that out for us?
Mayor, I don't have a copy of that in front of me.
Oh.
Just give me a moment.
I have it if you want me to read it. Or do you want to put it on the screen?
Oh, I don't know how to do that.
Okay, you want me to read it?
Please.
Okay. So this is resolution R-2-2021, a resolution of the mayor and town council of Colmar Manor that the 19th day of June in each year shall be a town holiday. Whereas Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, and Emancipation Day, is a holiday celebrating the emancipation of those who had been enslaved in the United States. Whereas Juneteenth, originating in Galveston, Texas, is now celebrated annually on the 19th of June throughout the United States. Whereas Juneteenth has been recognized by the Senate of the United States, has honored the celebration of Juneteenth, and legislation has been introduced in Congress to make Juneteenth a national day of observance of a national holiday. Whereas the state of Maryland, the home state of abolitionist Frederick Douglass, has officially recognized Juneteenth. And whereas the Mayor and Town Council of Colmar Manor desire to recognize Juneteenth, June 19th, as a day celebrating historically the freedom from bondage of those whose ancestors had been enslaved, as a day of remembrance, joy, reflection, and celebration in the town of Colmar Manor for all. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and town council of Colmar Manor that Juneteenth, the 19th day of June, shall be celebrated as a town holiday celebrating freedom from slavery and bondage for those whose ancestors were enslaved and held in bondage, and as a day of remembrance, joy, reflection, and celebration in the town of Colmar Manor for all. That the section 14 of the
19.
personnel,
Section 19.
Section 19 of the personnel policy of the town be and same is amended to provide the 19th day of June and each year shall be a town holiday, all as set forth herein. The clerk treasurer shall develop procedures to ensure that the leave program is uniformly administered within the various town departments and offices. The clerk treasurer shall be responsible for maintaining a record of all leave, including but not limited to regular holidays, including the annual observance of New Year's Day, Martin Luther King's birthday, President's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Juneteenth, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas. Regular holidays, Presidential Inauguration Day, Election Day, local election days. Date of observation, any regular holiday shall fall on a Saturday will be observed on the previous Friday. Any regular holiday which falls on a Sunday will be observed on the following Monday. Thanksgiving observations shall be on the fourth Thursday in November. Christmas observations shall be on December 25th. This resolution shall take place effective upon the date of its adoption. That is the reading of the resolution. There's two typos in here. So with whatever motion that we ensure the typos are corrected.
Yes, ma'am. I'll provide you with a copy to sign if adopted at the work session, if that's okay.
Well, I mean, if you can make the change before the work session, so the resolution goes into effect. It's just two typos.
Well, I saw a couple more when you were reading.
Okay, Councilmember Bowe.
Yes, ma'am. I was just going to point out, I'm being Professor Bowles here, but I was just going to point out, and maybe you said this, but Juneteenth would come between Memorial Day and Independence Day. So it needs to be moved since the others are all in chronological order. With Juneteenth being June 19th and Memorial Day being the end of May and Independence Day being July, Juneteenth would come between those two.
Right, it should be between Memorial Day and Independence Day, right?
That's the most accurate.
Right.
Okay, I have a question, which I guess we've never observed before in reading this, which has nothing to do with Juneteenth specifically, but since we're in this ordinance right now, it says,
Resolution.
I mean, it specifically says that Thanksgiving will be on the third Thursday and Christmas is on December the 25th, but it doesn't say New Year's is the first day.
Fourth. It's on the fourth Thursday in November, and that's existing.
No, I know, and Christmas is on the 25th, but there's nothing in here that says that New Year's Day will always be on January 1st.
Okay.
If we're gonna make this change for Juneteenth, can we go ahead and make that change? Because otherwise, we should be celebrating New Year's Day on a Monday.
Well, we will have employees off on a Friday if New Year's Day is a Friday. We will have employees off on Monday if New Year's Day is a Sunday.
Right, but all the other holidays are observed on Mondays.
Memorial Day is not. Independence Day is not. Labor Day is a Monday.
So Memorial Day is, you're correct. Independence Day is not. But, I mean, we can revisit this later. Let's just do the Juneteenth thing. But
okay, thank you, Mayor.
I think you also need to include in there the day after Thanksgiving, which I believe has been added in at some other legislation that's, not here, but we've, we took action on that, and that has been left out here.
Dan, I could not find anything to that effect, but I do remember that in every year we have specifically made it a holiday by action of the mayor and council prior to Thanksgiving Day in any particular year. It's an action that's taken every year.
No, I'm pretty sure that we finalized that a couple years ago, and I'd have to. I'm not in the office, but I would, probably be able to put my hands on it pretty easily. So
thank you.
I
have no problem.
So I'm not sure, and I mean, it's fine. For years and years and years, we would always just deem it a holiday on a simple vote. But a couple of years ago, we decided to make it permanent. What I will say is this, in terms of us following in terms of us making it a part of a resolution, I don't think we did. I think we just did a simple vote instead of preparing a resolution.
Which is a resolution.
Huh?
A vote is a resolution.
Even if it doesn't have the paperwork that says the where ifs and so forth?
I believe so. I'll let John comment on that.
Well, you don't need the whereases. That's
So-
just saying why we do something.
So when we did, then we did take the vote. It did happen.
Okay,
So that the day after Thanksgiving became a permanent holiday. But if we looked at this again, this is a resolution. This is not an ordinance, so we don't have to go through the public hearing and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's not a charter resolution, so it just can be introduced and adopted today, right?
it can be.
And so, other than just some cleaning up on the fact that Memorial Day, Labor Day are always on President's Day, Martin Luther King's birthday, those are all on Mondays, and it's not stated here. But I guess we're safe because the federal government deems the holidays are on Mondays. So we're just
I'm gonna-
following it.
I'm going to put in New Year's Day.
Okay,
If it's a Saturday or Sunday.
okay. All right. Well, I love the where ifs in this resolution, and it is, if people might say, it's the Black People's Independence Day. And would love to have it celebrated. So we have a motion to accept resolution R2 2021.
I will, oh, sorry, go ahead, Malik.
I'll
That's good.
make the motion to accept that. Also, is that with the changes that are being made as well?
That is with the change related to New Year's Day being always on New Year's Day.
And yes, I'll make a motion to accept.
Can you say it again?
A motion to accept the statement.
So is that a first by Bowles and a second by Harding?
First by Harding.
First by Harding. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? I will just say hallelujah. Thank you so much. I'll call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2, absent. Ward 3,
Aye, sorry.
Ward 4,
Aye.
awesome. And Mayor votes aye. Okay, thank you so much for that. Thank you, Mr. Barr. Appreciate it. Okay. Next item on the agenda is our sump pump discharge.
Some screaming and yelling.
We discussed last week on the specifics of this emergency ordinance and what will happen afterwards is that we will put it in the newspaper. We will put it out for the newspaper on Monday, and this will be an introduction and not an adoption. We would be introducing it. We'll put the notice out in the newspaper. It will be in the newspaper on Thursday, and I will have Kayla put out certain dates to see what dates might be available for you guys for the hearing. And or we can schedule the hearing for our next town meeting if you want to wait that long. But maybe the winter is over, maybe it's not, but we need to give our we need to give our code enforcement some tools to use to start to improving the situation as soon as possible. So we can reach out, but it'll be great to get it adopted today. So anybody want to make a motion to move forward? It's the same as what we got last week, right? There's no changes from this last week, right? Mr. Barr?
None that I know of,
Okay.
or that are material. There are
Yeah,
no
okay.
material changes.
Okay. So, is there a motion for us to, is this ordinance?
03.
Ordinance 03-2021.
Yes.
Hi, I'm sorry, Mayor. I was a little distracted. We have something is happening in Ward 3 with some yelling and screaming, and I don't know what's going on. So I was a little distracted. I would be happy to make the motion to adopt the ordinance 03/2021.
Thank you. And there's a second.
Councilmember Harding made the motion.
Councilmember Harding. Okay, is there any discussion?
Just a real quick question for me, ma'am, if I may.
Mr. Councilmember Bowles?
So we have a fine schedule set up for the first fine carries 200. Each additional 30 days carries an additional fine of 200, and that would go until such time as a lien is placed upon the property. Is that how that works?
No, hey, we hope they pay.
We hope they pay, but they can be fined continually until the end.
Yes, but you fined every 30 days. That's the way that's in there. And that is in there because these things can't be corrected overnight.
Right.
And so we give our residents the ability to begin correcting it. I would hope that the code enforcement officer would provide a grace period for anyone who is undertaking it, the repair, as long as they undertake it and can show progress. That's up to, of course, the chief and the code enforcement officer.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, I'll call for a vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2. Absent Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
All right, mayor votes aye. Thank you guys so much for that. Moving forward. Okay, the next item on the agenda is MML attendance. So this year MML is open to allowing for 2 per town up until, what is it, March? Councilmember Mendoza, remember what, March? Up until March what? Is it 2 weeks?
Mark, sorry, I don't have that date offhand.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're in the position of deciding right now, 2 people who can go in person. Now, everybody's open up to do the virtual, so we don't have to talk about that in this moment. But the 2, I think it was 2 weeks that they were opening up for you to decide. There's 2 people from your town that will want to go. After that 2-week 2-week period, they'll open it up to anybody additionally. So if it opens up to more, then more of us could go. If on a first time, first served basis, once they open it up to everybody, but their maximum is 400 total who can attend. Now, this is the conference in Ocean City. Actually, Malik, I think, Councilmember Harding, I think you've been there before, right? You've been up to Ocean City for us through MML, right?
Yes, I have.
Yes, so unfortunately, Irina is not on the line for us to have her position on it. You know, ideally, it's easier when you have new council people that you have old council people to mentor the new council people through the process. While at the same time, it's an excellent opportunity for new council people to familiarize themselves, and the networking is the best part of the whole event, is really talking to others and what their experiences are and how do they get through this and how do they deal with that and all that kind of stuff, which is really, for me, the best part, especially since I've already been through the academy and all the training and the classes, is being there around the people. So I'm opening it up to to the group. What is your interest? Let me hear from you.
First ward. We're going around by ward. No, I'm kidding. Personally, I think it's a good I was saying I thought we were going around by ward, but I'm
Yeah,
saying
that makes sense.
for me, seeing as I've been there before, I think it would be a great opportunity for our new council members to go and not only indulge themselves inside of the culture, but as well as, like you said, network and put a face to the name, especially for the. Oh no! Am I breaking up?
We can
Yes,
hear
I
you.
am. Oh, okay. I thought I was breaking up. All right. Yeah, but I feel like it's a great opportunity for council members to go and network and put a face to the name for the town. For me, I want to go next year because I want vaccines to go out. I want to be able to actually interact with people. So,
Okay, and again, Councilmember Hobbs isn't here. So Councilmember Bowles.
That's so, Councilmember Mendoza, since you're on the committee, so they're allowing 2 per town to go. Is there any requirement that the people who are going have been vaccinated, or are they simply just committing to keeping it COVID safe? And I remember also you had mentioned that there was a potential that it might actually go back to completely virtual. Can you give us any more wisdom on that?
So, the governor today, lifted the restriction. I think it's like 50% now for the capacity of conferences. So, the planning committee sent out another, which is good. So it may just happen that from Saturday, it was just 2 from each municipality, but by who knows, maybe by next month, and we it might be everybody will be able to attend. So yeah, um it can change at any time.
I know that Councilmember Hobbs might be available by text if someone wants to reach out to her that way. Um, I've been fully vaccinated, so I'm happy. I would be happy to go. So I'm happy to volunteer for that. And I would love to have that experience of networking and getting that training in person.
Okay, well, let me text you. So Mr. Barr, Mr. Baden, have you guys, have you pulled up the resolution, I mean, not the resolution, the ordinance on the, there's an error.
Which ordinance, Mayor?
On the storm, on the, sump pumps.
Stormwater? Yeah, what
Yeah,
is that?
it is, the mayor on the first page. Councilmember Mendoza, can you reach out to Councilmember Hobbs, see if she wants to
Sure.
Okay, section 1, first line.
Just give me a second, Mayor, please.
Nick,
Mayor, could you go on to another matter?
yeah,
While I get up.
okay. Councilmember Mendoza,
Oh, I see. May.
so you're on the board,
Yes.
which means that you have to go, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, they said that with the being on the committee, we're not a part of the 2 from the municipality. I guess because also most of us are done with our classes, so we won't have to do, it's just the other things, I guess, volunteering around and yeah,
Okay.
so we're not part of the
So we can count you already in and just look at the 2 that we need to select from the rest of us, right?
yeah.
Okay, that's great. So what I will suggest,
Yeah, of course.
that if we find out, so I'm hearing from both of you, right, that you want to go, right?
I'm happy to go. Councilmember Hobbs just replied to a text from me and she says, please communicate to the council. I would rather do it online.
Okay, all right. So, and Councilmember Harding, I heard you say you want to go. Is that correct? You're muted. Did you say yes or no?
ma'am. No, I'd rather do virtual.
You want to do virtual?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, I will be fully vaccinated by then myself, and feel a little bit more comfortable. I'm very good at keeping my distance and doing that. So I guess we'll put down myself and Councilmember Bowles. All right, we're all good. And then also sign up Councilmember Mendoza because she's on the board. You got that?
Madam Mayor,
Isn't yours paid for, Melinda? Or you don't have to register, pay for registration? Do you still have to pay for lodging and those types of things?
Let me make sure of that. Yeah, I'll definitely find out.
Okay, yeah, and then let Kayla know what you do need, and copy me too.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Do.
Yes.
I am a member of the Maryland Municipal Attorneys Association and a former president of that group. I will be attending on the first day of the convention, which is the day that the municipal attorneys meet, so that I will be there. The town in the past has paid for my attendance for one day, and I would ask that they do that again, please.
So Melinda, what did they say about staff in relationship? Are they saying that only 2 in the town, or are they saying 2 electeds?
It's just 2 from the municipality, period.
I'm not. I'm going as a member of the Maryland Municipal Attorneys Association, Madam Mayor. Unless they restrict us, or unless we meet in some other place, it's my intention to attend the first day of the convention.
So you're not asking us to send in your application as a member of the
No.
Manor? Okay,
No.
so you're asking us for us to pay for the day?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Baden, that's what we've been doing?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll move forward with what we have normally been doing unless there's any objections.
Mr.
All
Barr,
right.
if you could let us know what whether or not you're going, based on the restrictions, that would be good too.
I will find out and let you know.
Okay.
So they have decided they wanted to do that meeting and not do it virtually?
Our meeting will be done in person and in virtual. That is what is proposed.
Okay. All right. All right. So done with this line item. Thank you guys very much for conversation, discussion. And for the final line item, we're talking about the financial controls and internal audits. So as it was brought to our attention by Councilmember Bowles, that we had a contradiction in the resolution. I'm sorry, a contradiction in 1-103, financial controls and internal audits. And that contradiction being that in section C, which states that there is hereby established a withdrawal committee which shall consist of 2 members of the town of Colmar Town Council appointed by the mayor. The withdrawal committee shall be responsible for signing all checks and instruments of withdrawal on behalf of the town No member of the withdrawal committee may serve as clerk treasurer or may be a member of the audit committee. And then in F, it says, there is hereby established an audit committee which shall consist of 2 members of the town council appointed by the mayor. The audit committee shall be responsible for the auditing of all checks and instruments of within withdrawals on behalf of the town. No member of the audit committee may be the clerk treasurer or may be a member of the withdrawal committee. There was then in section H, it says, notwithstanding the foregoing provisions relative to the signing of checks and other instruments of withdrawal on behalf of the town, the mayor and town council may, the word may is new. It said the mayor and town council delegate such authority annually to the clerk treasurer, signing jointly for all checks and instruments of withdrawal. And then in I, it says the clerk treasurer shall provide a monthly report on all such audits to the mayor and council. There's something missing. That's not the whole of I.
I think I was the end of the existing one.
Huh?
I think I was the end of the existing one, if that's what you're reading.
Yeah, but I is incomplete. It stops in the middle. No, I don't think this was the last version, though. I thought I had printed the last version sent by Mr. Baden. Okay.
Yeah, I, as the clerk treasurer, shall provide a monthly report on all such audits to the mayor and town council. And actually, I think in the final version, John sent a clean version again after I had sent that, so that it would be easier to read how, with all the changes, it would now be stated. So, you know.
Okay, so you're talking about the version that was sent at 7:31.
That's the one John sent. Yes, that's a clean version with all the with all the changes made.
I can't read it. I can't even open it.
It's in the email itself.
It's in the email.
Yeah.
But I can't see the changes.
Right. So the one that I sent has all the changes, and I had a hard time trying to decipher what was in and what was out. So I asked John to provide a clean draft with all the changes made, and that's what he sent. So if you want to see the changes, you need to look at the one I sent at 6 o'clock or whenever that was. And the one that John is a clean version of what it would look like with all the changes made. And, seeing it just went out, at 6:30 and 7 o'clock, my suggestion would be to just introduce it tonight and have detailed discussion on April, because I don't think anyone's really had a chance to look at it.
That be true.
And just as a discussion, I spent quite a bit of time with Mr. Barr on this, and, the whole section was revised to reflect how we've been doing business versus trying to clear up a couple points, because there's a lot of things in there that didn't make sense. And, we say we're going to do it one way, but annually we could elect to do it a different way. So, which we've done the different way for 12 or 15 years. So the way it's currently written in this last version is the way we've been operating for 15 years. So that's the way it is. It's written as is, which basically states, 2 people sign the instruments, who the withdrawal committee are the people that will be the signers, and who will be elected to that. The audit committee says who will be the auditors. Says the clerk treasurer cannot be a auditor, which I totally agree with. And it says the mayor can appoint herself to either, but not both of the committees, because past mayors wanted to be signers, current mayor does not want to be, but in the future, maybe a mayor does want to be. So, those have all been written in there, and, really, I think simplifies the process. So I would encourage everyone to take a look at it. And again, if there's parts that were taken out and you want back in, let's discuss those at the next meeting.
So I personally have no objection to that plan of action. If somebody wants to make a motion to introduce it, we have an opportunity to make any additional changes after we have further chance to review it. So the introduction of it just opens it up for us to schedule a hearing and talk about it further. We can have the hearing at the next town meeting. The reason I would recommend an introduction is that I personally feel that we may operate in a way that innocently we've operated because it's just what we thought, but once it's brought to our attention that there is a discrepancy, that we should do something formally to address it. And so by introducing this, at least the public would know that we're addressing something that's been brought to our attention. But if there's any further changes that can be made, still can be made. So does anybody want to make a motion to introduce this ordinance on our financial controls and internal audit?
And the purpose of the introduction is for discussion.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I'm sorry, the purpose of the introduction is for discussion, or did we want to just?
Yeah, I mean, actually, the purpose of the introduction is to give us something to need and bring it to the public's attention.
Okay.
And it's not, we don't adopt it until after we've had a public hearing. And so we can change it anytime in between adoption. I mean, we can change it anytime in between introduction and adoption.
Yeah, and I don't think we should have the hearing till after the council discusses it in March. I mean, this would just get it on the table, and then it'll be old business for the next agenda. The council discusses it, and then after that decides to put it to a public hearing. Would be my suggestion.
Right, because we'll have a chance to talk about it at the work session in April. So in this particular case, I would not rush a public hearing. I wouldn't do the public hearing until our next meeting in April, where we've had a chance to actually talk about it at a work session. And then we can have the public hearing at that point. So we can decide, if there's anything different that we want to have. But it puts it on the table. It gives us a chance to go ahead and move forward, go ahead and schedule the meeting, but at the same time show that we're taking some action because there's a discrepancy that needs to be fixed.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if you want to have the public hearing a week after discussion, because you would have to publish this as written for that public hearing in order to have the hearing in April.
But that's just it. I mean, if we introduce it, we have to publish it. Right? I mean, that's what we do. If we're introducing it, we're going to publish what we have right here.
This is a ordinance.
It is.
Wait a minute. What am I looking at? An ordinance. No ordinance shall be passed at the meeting at which it is introduced, at any regular or special meeting of the town council held not less than 6 nor more than 60 days after introduced. That's the passage. So I just think, within that 6 to 60 days, you could pass it.
Okay, so this is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that we introduce it. I mean, as you said, you sent it at 6:30. I've skimmed over it. I'm very familiar with what we have been doing. I feel like in general, but I'd like to look at it closer. But in general, I feel like it's representative of the way we have been acting for the last 15 years. So I see that, so I'm okay saying let's introduce it and publish it. We introduce it, we publish it, we schedule a public hearing for April's town meeting. And if the council members here new to this would like to have some more discussion before we take it to the hearing and before we adopt it, that opportunity exists for that to be done. If we introduce it now. If we wait to introduce it, we're going to just continue to be operating with no action on something we've already been informed is a contradiction in our ordinance. Introducing it at least says we're taking action. And my personal opinion is that the wording as you put it together is representative of how we've been acting. So I would need a motion to introduce it so that we can actually move forward and then further discuss it. I mean, it might turn out, guys, that even though this is representative of the way we've been performing, you guys might have a different opinion about how we've been performing.
And I do want to have a point of clarification. What was your objection, Councilmember Bowles? Because I believe we are doing things in accordance with the way that is written, but there are some other areas that are inconsistent. So
my misunderstanding, well, not my misunderstanding. I read the initial 2 sections, and my problem, and I apologize for not reading any further, was that they seemed comprehensive and complete. So I didn't look any further because they felt comprehensive and complete. My understanding of the language apparently was not accurate, but it seemed to me that it was saying that the mayor should account 2 members of the council to be withdrawal and 2 members to be audit. And so initially I was not assigned, then I was assigned as a check signer. So looking at it, it looked like it was 3 and 1. I wasn't calculating in that the mayor is a member of the council. But the way I read the language, it seemed to me that it was implying that the council, the 4 council would be empowered 2 and 2 into those functions. So then when you pointed out, Mr. Baden, that there was another set of sections, my next question became, and I'm sure it's absolutely logical, I just don't understand, why does the council then delegate that authority? What was the historical reason for that delegation?
I believe it was to allow me to be a signer, because I'm not included in the withdrawal committee in the original language, and the H was added so that they could do that on an annual basis if they so choose to.
I see.
Yeah, and that's the way we've been operating since then. So, I think we are in compliance with what the charter says, but that
No, we're not.
in what aspect?
Well, H states explicitly that a person from the withdrawal committee cannot be the clerk treasurer.
Right, but I'm not on the audit committee. Oh, no, say that again.
The withdrawal committee, that a person from the withdrawal committee cannot be a member of, cannot be the clerk treasurer.
No, that's where you are giving me the authority.
No, in H, it's
the mayor and council delegate such authority annually to the clerk treasurer.
No, you're reading, I'm sorry, not H. I'm talking about C.
C is the audit committee.
C is the withdrawal committee.
No, on the original it was C was the.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's E, it's my eyes. My eyes. It's E.
Yeah, So that says that the clerk treasurer cannot be on the withdrawal committee.
Yes.
But then when you go to H, it overrides E.
No, not
Yes.
unless it says that it does.
It does.
It says notwithstanding, ma'am, which means instead of. So it actually negates the previous clause. Am I wrong?
You're correct.
Notwithstanding.
Notwithstanding means instead of what we've already said, in spite of the foregoing provisions, in other words, relative to the signing of checks, in spite of what we said, we now agree to do the following.
Delegate such authority annually to the clerk treasurer. And by the adoption of the annual budget and levy for 15 years, we've included section 2 that says the mayor and town council hereby grant signature authority on all town instruments of withdrawal to the mayor and or other such member of the town council as shall be designated by the mayor and to the clerk treasurer. The mayor
I
and
guess it's
town
my
council.
language. I guess it's my language understanding, but I'm still interested in making the changes because I never see notwithstanding. I mean, and I'm sure you guys are right, but notwithstanding to me saying, what I'm saying here, I'm going to say, but whatever I've said before still stands.
Right. And
But-
so let's just fix it to the way that we've been doing and operating, unless you all want to change it again. But currently, I don't think we're in violation of anything because we have elected for 12 to 15 years to annually make that designation in the budget ordinance. You know, and I had copied
Dan,
that. and
Dan,
sent
I
that.
think you're fine there. And what we need to do here is get this introduced so that we can advertise it, so that we can further discuss it at the work session if we wish to do so. And that so we can have it on the agenda for April to advertise. So we can hold a public hearing if that is the wish of the mayor and council, and so that we can adopt it in April if that is the wish of the mayor and council. But right now, the idea is to get this introduced. We need a motion to that effect, and we need a second.
Okay, is there?
I would move that, given that we've established that we're not in any kind of legal trouble here, or in any kind of violation, as best as I understand it, I would move that we table this to the next work session and sit as a council with our Mr. Barr and Mr. Baden and go through this before we adopt this new resolution.
It's not a resolution, council member. It's an ordinance.
Amendment? Code? What is it now?
This is an ordinance.
All right, then I would move that we table the ordinance to the next work session when our full council can be in attendance for discussion.
Well, it will be there.
Well, Councilmember Hobbs has joined us, but I'm not in disagreement with what you're saying. I still am not understanding what you guys are saying, and I guess in terms of notwithstanding, I guess I can't wrap my head around notwithstanding saying that it overrides what was previously said, and so if I don't get it, and
Mayor, that is the language that is used in writing an ordinance, an exception to an ordinance, if you wish to carve an exception out. And this exception that has been carved out allows the clerk treasurer to sign. It's been part of the budget ordinance for many years now, and the clerk treasurer has been signing. His signing adds a control in that nothing comes out under his signature that is not reviewed by him. And we owe a great deal to the integrity and the success of our annual clean audits. That's the term that's used by the auditors.
Okay, fine. I mean, I'd rather go to some language that just is more explicit as opposed to using a word like notwithstanding. But
It's
that,
been repealed.
huh?
It's been repealed. The word notwithstanding is not in the new language.
I know. That's why I would like to, even though you guys are saying we're following the rules and we're within what we say, I don't like the word. To me, it's not clear. Maybe language that you guys use, but I would rather correct the language that says that it cannot be a clerk treasurer. But to be more specific, and I'm good, we don't need to talk anymore about what to do. What we'll do is move it forward to the work session for further discussion. But before we do that, I do have to tell you guys that what you have given us, number I, is incorrect to what is in the current ordinance. Unless it's been changed somewhere along the line, I says in our current ordinance, notwithstanding the foregoing provisions relative to the auditing of checks and other instruments of withdrawal on behalf of the town, the mayor and town council may delegate such authority annually to the clerk treasurer for all checks and instruments of withdrawal. The clerk treasurer shall provide a monthly report on all items of the mayor and town council. So in the document that you guys have provided to us, that language is not there. And so when we come back to further discuss this, if you can correct that. So if we're going to be clipping it out, that it's clear that we're clipping it out. Right now, this is the most problematic paragraph in this charter. And it's not that we've never done this before, so I don't feel bad, but this paragraph should not be here. Am I right, Mr. Baden?
There's different versions, and I think that is referenced under H in one and I on the other. So what is the sentence that you are concerned with? And the clerk treasurer should not serve on the audit committee?
I mean, what you guys are looking at is not what is in the code. If you go on our code on our website and pull up the code page, what you have written in this document you've given us is not, is incomplete. Paragraph I is complete.
Paragraph I on the last one that John sent says the clerk treasurer shall provide a monthly report on all audits to the mayor and town council, and that's coming out.
It's incomplete.
All right. Well, that's the reason we need to spend more time and look at it. So.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying go, because if you guys are going to be looking at it and bring it back to us, if we're going to be cutting it out, it needs to cut out the whole paragraph. And the whole paragraph is not here right now. Is that, are you guys understanding what I'm saying? The whole paragraph is not here. Paragraph I is not in any of the documents that you guys have sent on this matter.
I think it is. It's the withdrawal committee, correct? Or
No,
no,
right now, paragraph I is only showing the last sentence of the actual paragraph I. What I read to you, paragraph I is not one sentence. Paragraph I is literally 5 lines, and it consists of it's one sentence. No, it's 2 sentences. One is 3 lines of sentence, and the other one is the 1 line that you guys are showing in the document you sent us. You're missing the first sentence of paragraph I.
Well, unless I'm looking at the wrong one, I only kept the last 2 out.
I mean, what you're looking at is, I mean, what's originally wrong is the first one that John sent. So whatever, if you're looking at anything that's any relationship to what he had sent us with the changes on it, they started out incomplete. So if you go, you'll find the official codified codes that we have on our website. under the code.
I printed that out at the end of the last meeting and sent it to everyone, and it says, notwithstanding the foregoing provision relative to the auditing of checks and other instruments of withdrawal on behalf of the town, the mayor and town council may delegate such authority to the clerk treasurer for all check instruments of withdrawal.
That's H.
That's I.
Oh, on the original charter from the site, that is I.
Okay. I'm on our website. I'm looking at the chart right now. It says,
Everybody, it's not the charter, it's the town code.
I'm looking at the town code, and it said notwithstanding the foregoing provisions relative to the auditing of checks and other instruments of withdrawal on behalf of the town, the mayor and town council may delegate such authority annually to the clerk treasurer for all checks and instruments of withdrawal. The clerk treasurer shall provide a monthly report on all such audits to the mayor and town council.
And what page is that showing on the?
Page 6.
Yeah, I printed out page 6 at the last meeting, and I have it underlined. I got it from the code. I got it from the town website. So I'm not sure. I don't know what you're seeing, Councilmember Bowles, but
I'm seeing the same thing you are, Mr. Baden. And I
Yeah.
downloaded it from our website, so I don't understand what the problem is.
yeah.
I'm confused. I mean, I'm confused right now. Are you
The
guys
only-
not seeing what you're not seeing what I just read?
Yes,
No.
ma'am. The difference that I see under H, the final statement under H, which makes it appear longer, is a sentence saying the mayor may be an alternate signer if the clerk treasurer is not available. Under I, it does not offer the mayor that option.
Okay, but what do you see under I? Read to me what,
I'm seeing the same thing. Notwithstanding the foregoing provisions relative to the auditing of checks and other instruments of withdrawal on behalf of the town, the mayor and town council may delegate such authority annually to the clerk treasurer for all checks and instruments of withdrawal. The clerk treasurer shall provide a monthly report on all such audits to the mayor and town council.
okay, so that's what I just read and that's what I see too. And so, Mr. Baden, are you saying you do not see that?
You said that it's H, and I kept saying it's I.
No, it's I. Are you
Okay,
seeing that?
then we all agree with that.
Okay, so I is the paragraph that really should not be here. The clerk treasurer should never be the auditor of the checks. The clerk treasurer is the one who writes the checks, cannot be the auditor of the checks.
Well,
Especially since the clerk treasurer is also on the withdrawal committee and can sign checks. So this should never, are you guys understanding what I'm saying? You cannot have the person who writes and signs checks be an auditor of the checks.
Well, H and I doesn't say anything about the clerk treasurer being the auditor. I agree that he should not be.
But I does say that.
No, it doesn't.
Relative to the auditing of checks. The H says relative to the signing of checks, and I says relative to the auditing of checks.
Yeah, but then it says may delegate such authority annually to the clerk treasurer for all checks and instruments of withdrawal. It doesn't say to the auditing of checks. It's only delegating the check signing to the clerk treasurer.
Okay, let me just let you have a moment and go and read this on somewhere else. But H relative to giving the clerk treasurer the opportunity to sign checks. I is giving the clerk treasurer relative to auditing of checks. So one is giving signing, one is giving auditing. And I'm saying that the auditing one should not exist. The paragraph is irrelevant if the paragraph is completely about the auditing of checks.
And in the current version, that's taken out.
All I'm saying is that you don't even show it in the current version. When you guys sent us the documents, it doesn't even have that language here. It's not even here to take out.
Well, I guess
I show the single sentence, Mayor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not a single sentence. It's missing the whole first sentence, notwithstanding the foregoing provisions relative to the audit and
Yes.
checks. It's missing
Yes.
it's missing in the documents that you guys have sent us.
Yes.
I'm sorry to be frustrated,
So
but it's missing.
Mr.
It's
Barr
not,
needs to
it's
go
not
back to
there.
the beginning.
What Councilmember Bowles read is what I see, and that's what's there. But in the documents that you guys have sent us with the strike-throughs and the add-ons, it is not there. It only has one sentence.
Mayor, you're 100% correct.
All right, so when we get it back and we come back for it, Councilmember Bowles, so I think we need to do the same thing that we did with the other item, which is the motion to move it forward to a motion to move it forward to the work session for further discussion.
I'm in a state of confusion. I'm sorry.
Welcome to the club. Anyway, you suggested that we move it forward and talk about it in the work session. So
No,
instead
I
of,
suggested that we table it and talk about it in a work session. I
so
suggested
Mr.
that we continue functioning under the code as it exists and talk about the new code that Mr. Barr's proposed at the next work session.
So I guess what I understood from Mr. Barr is that we can't table something that we haven't motioned and second.
So we have to motion and second to move it forward and then move to table it?
That's what you would do to table it. So what he suggested with the other item was that we just motion that we will continue the conversation, that we don't take any action on it whatsoever. We're just saying that we're going to continue a conversation next work session.
Mayor, that was on a resolution. This is an
okay.
ordinance. I don't mean to confuse everybody and obfuscate the situation. But what I recommend you do here is that you introduce it so that you can publish it. If you publish it, you can then have the ability to adopt it in the April general meeting of the Mayor and Town Council. If you don't, you're going to have to advertise it later.
And I think we're all on the same page that we are okay with that. We just want to know, what do we need to do to say that we're not doing it right now? We're going to talk about it. What's the action that we need to take to do that?
You can motion to table. You can motion.
So we can table it. So we can table it
at this time.
Okay. So if you're saying we can table it, because I misunderstood you the last time you said we couldn't table what we were doing. But if you're saying we can table it, then Councilmember Bowles has made the motion to table it, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I move to table for further discussion at the next work session, or if anyone wants to move for a special work session, I'm certainly open to that too.
So whatever next work session exists.
Table
is
this
when we'll
to the
talk
next
about
work
it.
session.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any objections? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And let the record reflect that Councilmember
Aye.
Hobbs has,
Yes, I voted aye.
aye, okay. We got 5-1. Councilmember Hobbs has joined the meeting. And so to close out, I thank you guys for that robust discussion. I know that was really confusing to me because I was looking at documents that were saying different things and whatnot. So you're not on the wrong page if you were confused. The matter of the error in the resolution, Mr. Barr, were you able to pull it out? You're on mute, Mr. Barr.
I'm sorry, I was looking at something else. What was your question?
It was about the emergency ordinance that we introduced for the sump pumps.
Yes, I have not had an opportunity to
Oh,
look at
okay.
that.
I thought you were pulling it up.
If you'll communicate that to me separately, I will make the correction.
Okay, on section 1, it says declaration of an emergency, and it says the may, and town council find that instead of the mayor.
I will look at it and make the correction and forward a copy to you and each member of the council.
And that's an
clerk treasurer.
introduction. It's introduction, so we don't need to really do anything else, right?
Okay, I'll make a copy. I'll do that and I'll forward it to Kayla.
Okay. Well, now we
Done.
concluded our agenda, and since we moved the residents' comments up and we've had some further discussion, if there's any residents who may like to make any comments at this point, based on our further discussion, I'll open the floor. Okay, hearing none, is there any, anybody else have anything to report for the good of the order? Okay, with that, I'll accept a motion for adjournment.
I'll
Unless
make
y'all
the
just want to
motion.
continue to hang out together.
Councilmember Harding.
Councilmember Harding will make the motion to
Y'all just have to give Councilmember Harding a little time. He's got a slow connection.
Yeah, you know, I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying.
Yeah, we can hang out. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nope. Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys so much. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, everyone.
you,
Have a good evening.
All right.
Thank
Everybody
you.
take care. Be safe.
You too.
Oh.
Thank you for saying that.